Hi there, just a quick little video today. I was doing a workshop at the weekend and I was making some canvases up, just preparing them, getting them ready to paint on. And you get these little doodads that come with the canvases all the time, these little wedges. I was putting them in onto the canvas, and it became apparent that some people didn't know what they were, didn't know what they were for, or weren't putting them on properly. But seeing as I just had a delivery of a couple of canvases, a couple of big canvases here, I thought I'd put them in and I'll show you what they're for and how to use them. Okay, I've just got a little canvas here, and I'll work on this big one in a minute, but I'll just show you on here. So if you don't know, the purpose of these little wedges that come with the canvases is to help you keep the tension on the canvas as you're working on it. Because it's a flexible surface, sometimes when you're painting they can go a little bit floppy and it's not very nice to work on. So what you want is a nice kind of springy surface. And these little wedges, these little corner wedges, help to keep the tension even across the surface of the painting. And so basically you just have to kind of tap them in lightly in the corners, make sure they're the right way around. So what they'll do is, as you tap them in slightly, they push the corners of the canvas stretcher bars apart slightly, because these stretcher bars aren't actually physically glued, they're not attached. All that's holding them together is the actual joint, the little joint that holds them together. So they're not attached, they're not nailed or screwed or glued or anything like that, so they're free to move. So what you do is you put the little wedges in, and as you tap them in gently, they just push the corner apart very slightly. And if you do that kind of gently and evenly across all four corners, you get a nice even tension on your canvas. And it can also help as you're working on the canvas. If it starts to go a little bit floppy, you can give them a little tap, but I'll talk about that in a little bit, because you have to be a bit careful with that. So I'll just show you how I put these in, and then I'll talk about just generally things about the tension of the canvas. Okay, so I've got my wedges here, and I've got 8 of them. Obviously there's 2 for each corner. And what you want to do is just tap them in so that the angle that they're going in is the same angle as you've got here. You've got a 45-degree miter joint on the stretcher. So I want to put this in the same angle as that. So you do that, and do the same with this one. So I've got this angle going in here. So I'm going to pop that in there. And you just push them in gently, and I'll just give them a gentle tap, because at the moment you don't really want to put any tension on the canvas, and you do have to be a little bit careful that you don't over tension your canvas as you do it. Okay, let's spin this around and put the next one in. Get rid of that bit of plastic. So you don't want to put them in too tight. Just tap them in. They should just stay in, they shouldn't fall out. And sometimes if you get really kind of budget canvases, really cheap ones, they're not really made very well. So you get these stretchers that come, these wedges that come with them, but sometimes they don't fit. Or when you're tapping them in, they've got a little point on them, and the point kind of protrudes from the side of the canvas, and it just basically means that they haven't been made very well in the first place. So I think, as with all things in my work, what I try to do is I try to use materials which are made well. They're good quality, but they don't have to be the most expensive ones. You know, they don't have to be the most expensive stretchers or paints. I always think you need to buy things that are decent quality, so that you're not battling against them. It's the same with paint. Get good quality materials, and they should serve you pretty well. So, okay, so that's done. Let's just lift that up and have a look. Okay, so as you can see, these are now tapped in here. They're not going to fall out, but at the same time, they're not really kind of hammered in really tightly, because you don't want to be whacking them in so tightly that you distort the corners of the canvas, because obviously you've got a joint here which needs to be square. So otherwise you're going to have a canvas which is a bit of a funny angle in the end. So just have to be a bit careful. You tap them in so you've got a nice tension across the surface of your canvas, so it's not all floppy, it's got a nice springiness to work on. But don't be hammering them in as tight as you can, because you will distort the corners of the canvas, and then you might have to take the canvas off and straighten up the stretcher and re-stretch it, so that's going to be a bit of a pain. So the last thing I wanted to talk about here was about general tension across the surface of the canvas. So I've got one here and it's gone, I've been working on it and it's gone a little bit floppy. It doesn't have that nice kind of springiness, and you get this a lot with canvas. They do go slightly floppy, and it's not particularly pleasant to work on sometimes. So one way of dealing with it is, as I was saying, is to knock the wedges in a little bit tighter, and that can be fine. But again, you can get into that problem where you might distort the canvas. So as you're working on them, a way to avoid, really having to hammer on those wedges is just to wet the back of the canvas very slightly. You don't need to soak it. I've got my trusty spray bottle. It's just got some water in it. But you could use a sponge, and you just put a little bit of water on the back, and no matter what you're working on, whether it's with oil or acrylic or whatever, this will just tighten up the canvas, and it will bring some of that tension back. You can see it's already started to get a bit springier. Bring it up to the surface. You can see it's more like a drum. It's not gone floppy anymore. And you can just do that as many times as you want. Don't soak it. You don't need to soak it. You can see I just put a little bit of water on the back, and it just brings the tension back across the surface of the painting while you're working on it. And then when it's finished, you can do that again. Give the wedges a little tap just to get that tension nice and even across the surface, and then you shouldn't have to do anything with it after that. You can frame it, stick it on the wall or whatever. So that was just a quick one there. It just occurred to me that some people don't know what these are for, and now you do. So if you're enjoying my videos, please do consider giving me a like and subscribe to the channel. And if you're interested in learning more about just painting and the kind of painting I do, please do check out the link that's on the screen for my workshops, online workshops, membership group, and all that kind of stuff. Okay, see you soon.